Good evening. I'm Nisa Petrilli.
I'm Jay Kaplan.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
And I am Sean Roman.
And this is On the Sports Lines for July 10th, 2014. Well, July brings us baseball's All-Star Game, and this year, the final of the World Cup. We'll break down the matchup between Germany and Argentina, and then bring in a special guest to help us take a look at the first half for the Yankees, Mets, and the rest of MLB. All that and much more, including part one of our tribute to Derek Jeter. As always, we want to hear from you, so email us at fanspeak@onthesportslines.com, send your tweets to @onthesportslines, and your posts to facebook.com/onthesportslines. We just may read them on the show.
Don't say it, Sean.
Well, one of the most interesting and intense FIFA World Cup tournaments in recent memory has come down to Germany versus Argentina, the third time these countries will face each other in the final. We'll take a look at what each team needs to do in order to be crowned champion. We're going to dissect this matchup lightning round style. One analyst, one question, one answer. Steve, you're up first. What does Germany need to do?
They need to do exactly what they did to Brazil, which is blitzkrieg them to death and score at will. Brazil played an absolutely dreadful game. Germany poured it on, and if they play like that, I think that will be exactly what they need to do.
Do you think it was the loss of their two players, Neymar and the captain of their defense, Silva,
that was part of it? That was part of it, but I think just collectively, the team, after they gave up the third or fourth goal, they played like they didn't care.
I thought it was the loss of Silva more, as he was captain of the defense, and without a great leader back there, everything else fell apart.
Their defense was abysmal.
Well, Jay, you're up next. What does Argentina need to do?
Well, Argentina needs to attack Germany early and often. They spent way too much time in their own half and at the midfield against the Dutch. They only had 3 shots on goal in regulation.
Jeez.
They need to score first against Germany, who has shown a scary ability to score early.
Oh, yeah.
They've done the last 2 games. They've had the first goal. Because here's the thing: if Argentina can score first and keep things tight, they can work Messi on the counterattack and use their defense to win this game. But somebody else besides Messi may have to step up, because if I'm the Germans, I got to look at what the Dutch did to Messi and duplicate that. And if they put Lahm back on defense to mark Messi, he could have some trouble. Here's the thing. Bottom line, if they play shutdown defense in front of Sergio Romero, the hero of the penalty kill,
yes,
he's produced clean sheets in all the knockout round matches. Wow. They can concede possession to Germany, just not position. They do all that, they have a chance of winning.
What was interesting, if you're watching after the blowout, the very tactical game of the Netherlands and Argentina, what really was mind-boggling to me is the Netherlands coach who made the most amazing move in World Cup history. It's like bringing in a relief pitcher. It's never been done with 1 minute to go to bring Krul in to win the penalty kicks, and then in the next game against Argentina to use all your subs so you don't have them, and you put in a guy who's never stopped a penalty kick in his entire career. Mismanaged. So the Netherlands do not get their 4th shot to be the Buffalo Bills of the World Cup.
There you go.
All right, Sean, well, it's your turn for the lightning round. Give me an X factor for each team.
An X factor for the Germans, it's really tough. If you go through it line by line, who are you going to talk about as an X factor? Close? Are you going to talk about their midfield with Ozil and Schweinsteiger? Are you going to talk about their excellent defense? I mean, they're all just so well balanced and awesome all the way through that I'm looking, they don't really have an X factor except for the goalie, the one guy who's overlooked. But their goalie, Manuel Neuer, he does play for Bayern Munich, probably the best team in the world for the last 2 years. Absolutely excellent. He's like the Lundqvist of goalies.
Wow.
Positioning. He doesn't have to look good because he's always in the right position. And their toughest game so far was against Algeria, and he acts more like a defenseman than an actual goalkeeper.
All right.
That's
Argentina?
their X-field. Argentina. The thing about Argentina is that right now Messi, who's been touted for the last decade as the best player in the world, there is just one step, and it's a monumental step. It's the machine of Germany between him and greatness that eludes him. I mean, casual fans like yourselves, you think of Pelé and Maradona as the best two who ever lived.
Yes.
if Messi gets a win here, that's all the pressure on him. He's up there.
Yep.
And despite all his accolades and achievements, he's not there if he doesn't get this. This is his 3rd World Cup.
Wow.
He has one more to go, but right now he's in the prime of his career. This is his best chance for immortality worldwide in soccer.
Boom.
It's going to be a good game.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, Major League Baseball is headed into the All-Star break. The game will be next Tuesday, July 15th at Target Field in Minnesota. So it's a perfect time to take a look back at the first half and ahead to the second. To help us do that, we welcome to the show ESPN alum Katie Sharp, who now writes for the Yankees blog, It's About the Money. Welcome, Katie. Katie, are you there?
Whoa.
Are you there, Katie? We're trying to get Katie. Can you hear us?
Let's discuss amongst ourselves till we
Yeah.
get Katie on.
Talk to me about the Yankees first, Jay.
I tell you, you know what? The things that I take away from their first half, and we'll see if Katie agrees with me when we get her on the line. Inability to score. I mean, largely due to the fact that the guys who were counted on to be the big boppers on this team have not been able to stay healthy. Teixeira, Beltran, and McCann have spent time on the disabled list. Rarely have they been in the lineup together. Soriano hasn't produced. He got designated for assignment. Third base has been an empty vacuum. There's been no power or nothing. So, and you know, you add insult to injury in the starting rotation. MASH unit, now Tanaka could be on the DL.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He is on the DL.
Yeah, 15 days.
Yeah,
Katie, are
15
you
days.
there?
Katie, we may have Katie now. Katie, do we have you?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey!
Okay.
There she is.
Little technical difficulties there.
Okay.
Thanks for being with us on the show tonight. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good, good, good. Well, the guys and I have some questions for you. Jay started talking a little bit about the Yankees' first half, but he's going to ask you some more.
How you doing, my friend? Good to have you.
Great to be here. Thanks a lot.
All right, so we were chatting amongst ourselves while we were taking care of your technical difficulties. What's your biggest takeaway for you? What's the biggest takeaway from the first half for the Yankees?
Well, it's pretty obvious for me. It's got to be the injuries to the pitching staff. And right now, with Tanaka's latest injury, they've got 4/5 of their opening day starting rotation on the disabled list. And these are not just small injuries. Just the latest news for Tanaka is that he's now going to be out at least 6 weeks.
Oy.
He's got a partially torn ligament in his throwing arm. This was just announced by Brian Cashin, by the way.
Oy.
And so it's looking like 6 weeks of rehab and then possible surgery. So surgery would obviously be season-ending. They've already got, CC Sabathia, who God knows when he's going to come back. And, Nova's out for the year with Tommy John surgery.
Right.
Pineda, he can't even get healthy. Besides, who knows what he's going to be able to do without his pine tar if he ever does come back.
There you go.
But the fact that the Yankees have been able to survive despite, basically going with a bunch of rookies and a 39-year-old Japanese pitcher who's having the worst season of his career.
Yep.
And I looked this up just today, and that they've already had 43 of the 90 games before tonight were started by rookies. Which
Ouch.
is outstanding. I mean, that's almost half of the games have been rookies. And granted, one of them has been Tanaka.
Yep.
Arguably, rookie of the year in the AL so far.
Yep.
We'll see what happens the rest of the season. But, it's just been remarkable. The
And
fact
it's
that they've been able to kind of hold it all together.
And it's amazing that they're within shouting distance of first place despite all of this.
Yeah, they're still only they entered today. They entered today 3 games back in the AL East. I think same amount in the wild card. And no one is running away with the AL East. So, with the latest injury to Tanaka, you have to think, can they keep it together? But they've been doing a pretty good job so far. So.
Indeed.
And the fact that another big takeaway is that they've gotten pretty much no production from some of their major, the $500 million spending spree that they went on this offseason.
Yep, I was talking about that exact same thing.
Yeah, if you look at it, Carlos Beltran, now that Alfonso Soriano is off the roster, he's been the least valuable player on the Yankees this season. If you look at wins above replacement, he's been worth negative wins above replacement.
Ouch.
So they pretty much would have done a better job if they had just put a AAA guy instead of him. And they're paying him, $45 million.
Damn.
For this 3 years.
Go figure.
Brian McCann, he's been doing better in July, we have to say, and he's obviously been a terrific in terms of pitch framing and working with the staff, but his numbers are ugly. He's having the worst season of his career.
Yep.
Too. So it's just, you look at their run differential, it's skewed. Run differential is not the be all and end all of what a record should be, but they've been outscored by 31 runs.
This is disgusting.
Entering today's game. And they are still 2 games over 500.
Go figure.
So, I mean, you've got me on this one. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how they're doing it. But
we don't either. Smoke and mirrors. But Steve's going to ask you about the Mets.
Hi, Katie. It's Steve Ferguson.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you doing?
Good, good. Well, I'm the lone Met fan of the group here.
I'm a Met fan.
Sean's a Met fan.
Well, to some degree you are. But
I went to 3 games already.
hey, well, I've gone to 6, so I have you on that one. Katie, what's the biggest takeaway from the Mets in the first half?
All right. Well, I'm not obviously not a huge Mets fan, but I'm not a Mets hater, so this will be an honest perspective for you.
Good.
But I think for me, it's the fact that somehow, they have not declared themselves sellers yet.
Nope.
Despite the fact that, they were I think 11 games under 500, just a week or two ago. And, they still are, and they're playing well recently too. They're on this little 4-game win streak, and they actually, I believe they have the best OPS in the NL over the last month.
Wow.
So that entire, firing the hitting coach and the fact that they have no offense, at Citi Field, it's sort of come around right now, and they seem to be playing, inspired baseball, which is great, except that, Sandy Alderson is still thinking that they're a 500 team, but the fact that, they entered today's games at 7 games under, and the Braves and Nationals are sort of looking like the best, the beasts of the NL East.
Yep.
It'll be really tough to catch them.
Sean?
Katie, in terms of looking at what's coming up in the second half, I'm going to ask you what you're looking to, and I'm going to ask if you agree with me that the storylines are really out west with the A's in the AL West and, of course, in the National League with the California teams.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I mean, one thing that's really intriguing to me is this Oakland A's team and how much they've dominated their competition. And they're just not, winning games by 1 or 2 runs, but they are just thoroughly crushing teams.
I mean, they had...
And taking series, 1, 2, 3, 4 series at a time. There's just no let-up with them.
They had some of the best teams ever in the 1970s, and they last won in, I guess it was 89, was it? Do you think that this is their year with Billy Beane, that they finally get one?
I do. I think it is. I think that they're setting themselves up for what, for the postseason. Billy Beane, he likes to say that the postseason is a crapshoot, and that's why he went out and got the 2 best starting pitchers, on the trade market already.
Right. He's putting the odds in his favor more.
The fact that they did it, in the first week of July, means that they've got, at least 4 or 5 additional starts from both of them than if they had done a trade, something at the deadline. And I think that's only going to help them further as they get down, into September, when they'll be able to hopefully have a big enough lead that they can rest guys and really make a run in the postseason.
Thank you.
I mean,
Totally.
If you look at the balance of the offense and their pitching is, I think, what makes them, kind of a true contender.
Yeah, totally. Well, Katie, we've got one more quick question for you before we let you go.
Sure.
As we're all aware, Derek Jeter is retiring after this season. Based on his numbers, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
There's absolutely no question in my mind that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. The big question for me is, will he get the highest percentage of votes? And that's currently, I believe it's, 98.8, which was Nolan Ryan and
Ty Cobb.
Seaver, maybe?
Tom Seaver.
Seaver,
Tom
Tom Seaver.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yep. Nolan Ryan and Tom Seaver both got the highest percentage of votes. But I mean, just his numbers. I mean, he's top 10 in hits. He's passing all of these legends as he goes, enters his final year. The one thing that stands out to me is this stat. He's played in, I believe, almost 2,700 regular season games, and only one time have the Yankees been mathematically eliminated from the postseason.
Wow.
And that was the September game in 2008. Granted, he didn't play last year when they were out of the competition.
I think you just topped Jay on a crazy stat.
Katie always tops me on crazy stats. We've discussed this on Twitter. She beats me hands down.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Katie. We really appreciate you being on the show.
Great. It was great to talk with you guys.
Thanks so much. That's ESPN alum Katie Sharp, who now writes for the Yankees blog, It's About the Money. You can read her work at itsaboutthemoney.net and follow her on Twitter at @KTSharp. Thanks again, Katie. Well, as we just discussed with Katie, Derek Jeter is retiring after this, his 20th season in pinstripes. R.J. Kaplan took a camera crew to Yankee Stadium back on June 28th to talk to both Yankees and Red Sox fans about Jeter and to give them the chance to wish him a happy birthday. Here's part one of our tribute to the captain.
I'm going to guess your answer to this is yes, but I want you to tell me why. Is the man a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Is the Pope Catholic? He has total respect of all the players. Mm-hmm. He respects all the players.
No doubt.
No doubt? Tell me why.
He's clutch. He has class. He just represents a game of baseball great.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Tell me why.
The best leader. He motivated his team.
Absolutely.
First ballot?
Absolutely.
All right, tell me why.
He's one of the guys during the era that is in question, did it the right way, was clean, no problems.
Absolutely.
Tell me why.
Without a doubt. Because he's amazing. Not only is he good looking, he's great at baseball. How many times has he gotten some rings for us?
I think Derek Jeter is a first ballot Hall of Famer, but with the Baseball Writers Association, no, they don't put anybody in the first ballot.
Absolutely. He's a leader. He's a good player. He's also a good shortstop. And most importantly, he's the captain of the New York Yankees.
1, 2, 3.
Yes!
All of the guys that have their numbers retired up on that outfield wall, where does Derek Jeter rank all time in the pantheon of Yankee greats?
He's right up there with them. He's got to be in the top 5.
Top 5?
Top 5.
A Mantle.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Babe Ruth.
All right.
DiMaggio. You got Whitey Ford.
Derek at 5?
Yeah, he's right there.
He's right up there in the top 5.
Yeah, you're building Mount Rushmore. You got 4.
Yep, I got 4.
Who's he up there with?
He's up there with Yogi and Mickey and Whitey Ford.
I'd say probably top 3.
Top 3?
Yeah. I'm a Mantle fan. That was my first baseball, Mickey Mantle.
All right.
Had a lot of career moments, obviously, and probably Mariano Rivera.
How long have you been a Yankee fan?
Oh, since grade school.
All right. So you've seen a few things.
Yes.
Where does he rank in the all-time pantheon of Yankee greats? How long have you been a Red Sox fan?
All my life.
Is there a grudging respect for the way the man plays the game, handles himself both on and off the field?
Oh yeah, I respect him definitely. He's probably one of the better players in my generation anyways, growing up.
It's not even a grudging respect. I'm a man of the game. I love the game. I've watched him since he started playing, and I'll tell you what, he's done it right. He's done it right the whole time, the whole ride. Great player. Fantastic representative of the game of baseball.
Definitely, he's one of the all-time greatest, but it's really just more of a respect than a like.
I want to thank you straight up for your service.
Thanks for your time. I appreciate hearing that.
All right, how many years you put in?
I did 23, and we have a lot of vets coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan are really having difficult times, so people need to really update themselves on Veterans Affairs.
Are you a Yankee fan?
No, I'm a Met fan.
Now, granted, I know you may not have a lot of love for him because, plays on the other side of town, but is there a grudging respect for the way the man played the game and the way he handles himself?
I mean, there's a respect, and there's no real grudge against the Yankees and Mets because we don't win.
Now, Derek turned 40 this past week.
Yep.
Right,
doesn't mean anything. He's so sexy still.
Happy birthday, Derek Jeter. My wish is that you'll have a good life after baseball and that everything will be awesome.
Derek, you're a class act, and I wish you happy birthday and wish you lots more years of good health and happiness and coming back to all the classic old-timers games.
Yeah, you got one wish for him, what would it be? Retire finally and stop messing with the Red Sox?
Yeah. Be a good baseball player for the rest of your life.
All right, there you have it.
Never get old.
Continue happiness and finally get married, maybe.
I wish that he'd change his mind and wouldn't retire.
Happy birthday, Derek, and love for you to Love for you to make 4,000 hits.
One wish for Derek Jeter would be that when the day comes that the Steinbrenners no longer wish to own the team, that they would consider turning the reins over to Derek to actually own the club.
Happy birthday, Derek. I mean, I just want to say I've been a fan of you for the longest time. You know, I think it's great what you do. Your Turn 2 Foundation, I think it's great what you support.
You guys work for Turn 2?
Yes, Turn 2
You got a little promotion going on? Tell me a little bit about it.
So Derek Jeter is hosting a game day with him. You win it, and all you have to do is go to jumpwow.com. That's JUMBOW.com. And you can win lunch with him, and like for a game day, great prizes and awards. Derek Jeter, happy birthday. I mean, you can adopt me.
Hey, if you want to hit the town, let me know. You can share the women. Hey, I'm single, I'm a bachelor too, so we got something in common. I mean, hey, we got something in common. That's all I gotta say. There we go. From Yankee Stadium, or on the sports lines, I am Jay Kaplan. Back to me and everybody else in the studio. Good night.
Great piece,
Good
Jay.
job, Thank you.
How did you get back so quick?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. I got a TARDIS parked outside.
Throughout the century plus that Major League Baseball has been around, there have been teams that have dominated in a particular year or just captured our fancy and attention for a season. If you could play for one team in a single season at any time in baseball history, which one would it be? Sean, answer that question.
You're asking me first. I mean, I want to make a prediction right now. My friend Steve is going to pick a Mets team. Jay will pick a Yankee team. But if you guys had to guess who I would pick, that might be pretty hard.
I will tell you this, Sean.
Okay.
Because you missed our production meeting because you were watching the Germany-Argentina game. Steve Rabinowitz, our producer, said Sean will take a Brooklyn Dodgers team, probably 1955 or 56.
That would have been a good one. That would have been a good guess. I mean, who wouldn't have wanted to been there in 1955 when they finally won it?
Exactly.
There were like 1990 Mets when they lost all those games too. That would have been a fun one. But I'm a big fan of history. And
you are.
Why baseball means so much to me is it's truly the American game, and it developed as our country, the industrialized age, was developing over all the factory towns that needed a break for the workers and some recreation. So I think one of the most significant teams to have been a part of, and I would have loved to have seen if you could put me back in time, is the 1905 New York Baseball Giants.
Ooh.
Wow. And that was a team very significant because at that time the World Series was a fairly new concept.
Right, it had only been around a couple of years.
And the year before, 1904, the Giants had won the pennant. So they didn't want to play in the World Series, not because they were frightened at what would happen, but they felt it would be somewhat demeaning. Back at that time, if you won the National League pennant, that was bigger. That was winning the World Series, and it was just like an exhibition against the AL. It didn't hold as much status.
Right.
But in 1905, the great Giants with Christy Matheson, I think he went like 31-9, had a 1.24 ERA. He had the NL Triple Crown. He was 24 years old, and he won his World Series that year. That would have been amazing to see. And the era, John McGraw was the coach. When a reporter said something he didn't like, he would take his nose and twist it. Even Christy Matheson, a Bucknell graduate from college.
That's right.
That was a big deal. America's first true baseball superstar. At that point, Christy Matheson, a lemonade vendor, was yelling at him. He went into the stands and punched him out. That's why you never see me when modern players fight with fans. I don't get hard on them because that's part of our culture and heritage. And awesome, in the World Series, Matheson 3 complete games shutouts.
That's right.
That's something we will never see again.
No.
And if you ever want to see what it might have been like to be part of that team in that era, book I recommend, The Celebrant.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Well, for me, as a Met fan, I think you all know I had a choice of either 69 Mets, which was good, but I wasn't following baseball in those days, so I have to go with the 86
Ding,
Mets.
ding.
Okay.
We all called that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty obvious.
We called
That's a historic team. I mean, for many reasons.
108 wins in the regular season, 54 losses. That was the year, if you're a Met fan, you could go out and you would know most of the time they were going to win every single game. The best part of their season wasn't actually the regular season, it was the postseason.
Yes.
Yeah.
That postseason was phenomenal. They're playing the Houston Astros and going 16 innings to beat them. And with the fear of Mike Scott coming in Game 7, Keith Hernandez said
he was a Met beater that year. He had their number.
Once he developed the splitter, my dad and I used to talk about it and say if he develops one more pitch, he's going to be a superstar.
Well, you're talking about all the stats and stuff. Tell me, Steve, why you'd want to be a part of that team. What was so wild and crazy about them that makes you want to join that club?
They were as much fun as any team the Mets have ever had. They were a crazy group. You had personalities all over the board. Sid Fernandez,
Howard Johnson,
Kevin Mitchell,
Howard Johnson,
leadoff hitter Lenny Dykstra,
Nails,
Fernandez, Nails. An exciting team, a lot of fun to watch, but a team that had great character and just a tremendous team, the most talented team they've ever had. Probably the most fun team you'll ever see if you're a Met fan.
New York enjoyed following them.
Yes, a book was written about them when the bad guys won, but I didn't read it. Did you guys read that?
I didn't read it, but a friend of mine read it, and he said to me, it's a great book, and I probably should read it myself.
On my list.
What about you, Jay?
Well, I think you guys all know that I took a Yankee team.
That was my prediction.
Well, we knew
but
that was coming.
I'll let you guys guess. I'll make it easier for you. I left the entire Derek Jeter era to my better half of my brain here.
The 61 Yankees.
Wrong, Steve.
The 27 Yankees.
Ding, ding. I got to tell you, 61 Yankees, great team.
Yes.
I actually was weighing the difference between the 27 Yankees, Murderers Row, and the 36 Yankees, which had Gehrig near the tail end, but still a force. DiMaggio was a rookie.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, I went with Murderers Row because in my mind, these guys may have been the best team to ever wear the pinstripes. 110-44 back when they were playing 154. That is a 7-14 winning percentage. They won the American League by 19 games. Swept the Pirates in the World Series. Remember Katie talking about run differential in your interview?
Oh, yeah.
Their run differential was plus 376.
Oh, my God. That obliterates
if you don't count their pitchers, and remember back in that day there was no DH.
Right.
Their ace starters, position players, they had 316 batting average, a 397 on-base percentage, 511 slugging percentage. They led the league in hits, runs, homers, RBIs, walks, batting average, on-base, slugging, OPS.
Wow.
4 pitchers won 18 games at an ERA of 3 or lower. They led the league in ERA at 3.20.
Wow.
Here's what really solidified it for me. 5 of their 8 starting position players hit better than 300. 3 hit better than 350. 6 Hall of Famers on that team.
I was going to ask you that.
Gehrig, Waite Hoyt, who was one of their pitchers, Tony Lazzeri, their second baseman, Herb Pennock, who was their ace, center fielder Earl Coombs, and their manager, Miller Huggins, was also a Hall of Famer.
He was a phenomenal manager.
What was his impact that year to that magical season?
That man hit over 350. He hit 60 home. That was the year he hit 60 home runs.
And hit 350 that year?
That's right. He hit 356 that year. Gehrig hit 49 homers that year. He drove in 173 runs.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Wow.
You got one, Nisha?
Only Hack Wilson probably has more RBIs
190, that's right.
190.
I am also going with the Yankees, as Jay said. But I'm going with the 1998 Yankees. I had to do Jeter era. I'm a big Jeter fan. This team had a franchise record 114 regular season wins, plus 11 more in the postseason. They swept the Padres in the World Series. And
won Game 4 on my 30th birthday.
Yes.
Wow.
That's right.
You'll never forget that day.
The best part of that team is it was the heyday of Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter, Jorge Posada, and Andy Pettitte. Those 4 core guys. And they really, really clicked that year. And then they were all in their prime. But also a few other guys on the roster worth mentioning: Tino Martinez, Bernie Williams, Darryl Strawberry. That was Paul O'Neill too. Incredibly talented team, led by Joe Torre, of course. They just gelled in every way. It seemingly breezed through the regular season and the postseason.
They were a dominant team.
It was a magical run.
Did you think the more fun team of the Yankees, though, was in 1996 when you had Mariano doing the 7th and 8th?
Yes, and that was Jeter's first season, so that was his rookie season, so that might have been more fun. He might have been more fun to go out drinking with in 96 because he was a little younger.
Maybe.
But 98 would have still been fun.
I'll tell you this, you want a fun team? 1977 Yankees, the Bronx Zoo.
Oh, absolutely.
That
Was that the year that Chris Chambliss?
Yep.
The fans just came pouring out, and he had to barrel his way through, and the Bronx was burning in different games in the background. That's a wild team.
Chaotic.
Getting to the Bronx was an adventure.
Chaotic.
Oh, it was.
Interesting. Well, guys, that music means it's time for the 3-minute warning. Sean, lead us off.
The Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest is one of New York's fun and completely bizarre Independence Day traditions. And for the last 8 years, America's Joey Chestnut has eaten the most dogs among the competitors. About 60 to 70 within 10 minutes. Unfortunately, it's a severely tainted streak, as world-class eater Takiro Kobayashi has been repeatedly excluded from the event. The intrigue of a truly fun and awesome rivalry that could have been enjoyed for the last half-decade has been lost. Due to Major League Eating, that's a company who actually runs the event, they require Kobayashi to sign some stupid contract because he's the only one who can make a living doing this stuff. It undermines his ability to do that. Basically, that entity that runs the competition wants too much control over what Kobayashi does and makes in terms of money. And the fair value as a result of fair competition has been completely lost. Now it is finally time for Major League Eating to retreat, give in on its contract demands, and give the good old USA what we want. A fun rivalry on the July 4th holiday where the best eat against the best.
Nice.
All right. Frank Cashin, championship baseball architect. After 1973, when the Mets faced the A's in the World Series, the franchise suffered an inordinate level of embarrassment and pain. The late 70s culminated into a black hole of nightmarish baseball, topped off by the forgettable acquisition of Elliott Maddox, while the Yankees acquired the likes of Catfish Hunter and Reggie Jackson, resulting in their championship in 1978 and World Series appearance in 1981. While last place finishes were commonplace for the Amazons during that era, finally, during the early 80s, a bow-tied scholarly curmudgeon arrived. He changed their fortunes from chumps to champs, from back-page small print to front-page bold type. That man was Frank Cashin. He took a franchise decimated by miserable players and bad trades, terrible management, and passive acquisition of talent. Soon, Mookie, Wally, and Straw came up the Shea. Then came Darling, Terrell, Gooden, and via trade Hernandez and Carter. And Cashin and the Mets had what his Orioles had in 1970 and 1971, a World Championship of their own again. While the good times ended in 1990, Mr. Bowtime made them relevant again. Thank you so much for our spectacular '86 team led by Davey Johnson. As a Mets fans, those good moments will be cherished and never forgotten, and neither will you.
When Sean asked me 2 weeks ago what I thought about the whole Jason Kidd affair, I'm sure he thought he was going to get my dispassionate analysis. Instead, he got quite a rant. Jason Kidd is a self-centered, egotistical jerk. He had 1 year as a decent head coach, and all of a sudden he thinks he should be running the Nets front office. Are you kidding me? Really? Didn't get his wish, so he threw a temper tantrum and stomped off to Milwaukee, who originally had no intention of firing now former head coach Larry Drew. All that drama, and guess what? The only thing Kidd's going to be doing is coaching. Good luck with a team that has as much chance of making the playoffs as the 1962 Mets. I say good riddance. The Nets are better off with Lionel Hollins as their coach. Here's a guy who increases winning percentage every year in Memphis, culminating in that 56-26 season in 2013. But he got royally screwed after getting swept by the Spurs in the Western Conference Final because his owner's deluded with how good he thinks that team was. Never should have lost his job, but he took the high road out of town, showing the type of class and respect for the game that Kidd clearly lacks. Oh, and by the way, all Hollins wants to do is coach. No personnel decision-making, nothing. Fancy that, a coach who just wants to do his job and nobody else's. What a novel idea.
Josh Gordon, a name that struck fear into the hearts of defensive coordinators and defensive backs. Now, unfortunately, the same can be said for the front office of his own team. The talented but troubled wide receiver has had a string of brushes with the law, getting pulled over when his car smelled like weed, a DUI, speeding infraction most recently in North Carolina. Hall of Famer Chris Carter has advocated his release from the Browns, but fellow Hall of Famer Michael Irvin disagrees. I'm inclined to agree with Irvin, and not just out of my fond memories of him from the U. Irvin argues that what works for one addict may not work for another, and I agree with that. We're living in a different time than when Chris Carter was released. The Browns releasing him at this point would be a shame, considering they drafted him with full knowledge of his troubled tendencies. The team should step up and get him into rehab. Forget about the suspension for the year, forget about protecting their investment, forget about everything except getting this kid the help he needs. If they do that, then maybe this time next year we can talk about Josh Gordon's prowess on the field instead of his problems off it. For Jay Kaplan, Steve Ferguson, and Sean Roman, I'm Nisa Petrilli. Thanks for spending part of your evening with us. We'll see you on July 24th for another edition of On the Sports Lines. Remember, if you want to see this show again or catch up on any of the ones you might have missed, check us out at youtube.com/onthesportslines and check out our blog at onthesportslines.blogspot.com. Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.